They don't think our government has ever taken this seriously until now, and I do believe there is a deterrence. I think that's absolutely true. So the politicians and whatever are going to fight out the legal ramifications of it. I'll give you the political analysis, which is the American people want it, and I'll give you the real-world analysis is if I was down there, I wouldn't get in a boat right now with a bunch of drugs, and that's the point.
If that were the case, they would release the video.
I know.
If they thought that
he said if Hegseth wants to release it, he's fine with it.
Well, Hegseth isn't releasing it.
He reversed
That's the whole
himself
point.
today.
Trump is the president. Just FYI.
Look,
Trump
I'm for it.
is the president of the United States.
I love these
He wants
videos.
to release the video.
In today's video, Jeff Flake absolutely destroys Scott Jennings and Tim Parrish on Newsnight with Abby Phillip. What's at stake here isn't just the legality of the mission, but the moral compass of American foreign policy itself. Jeff Flake pushes for transparency, calling out the Trump administration's refusal to release the full video, a video that could determine whether this was a justified military engagement or an outright war crime. So let's dive in and watch how Jeff Flake shuts down Scott Jennings on Newsnight with Abby Phillip.
Hegseth said this weekend that officials were reviewing releasing that video. And I'll ask again, as I asked all of last week, why not just release the video? If it is exonerating, it should be exonerating.
Yeah, Abby, I think that I did a deep dive into this just to get some more information. And I think that what you oftentimes see with videos like this or any type of evidence surrounding a matter like this, sometimes there's intelligence, sensitive matters, sensitive information that the intelligence officials first need to be able to scour through, go over, and make sure they have all the information and the details. I think that might be the case here. Is that they're looking
the first
through
part of the video.
Well, then maybe
and then the second part of the video
has
presumptively shows the boat being completely destroyed. So I'm not sure what intelligence would be left over.
Well,
why release the first video but not the second?
Well, Abby, last time I checked, none of us are in the intelligence community, and so I am just saying right now, everybody at this table, that could be one of the situations. And we all care deeply about this incident and what happened. And so if we are to extract the most relevant intelligence information out of it, I believe that's what they're trying to do before they release it. They say that they did nothing wrong, and I think if they find that, then it will come out.
October. It is December. They've had this for a long time. There's plenty of time to go
Abby,
through.
we go over intelligence for months and years.
They released that first video within days, maybe even hours after the strike happened.
Let me tell you, as one who's sat in on those briefings for 18 years, there's nothing in this that is, going to expose sources and methods or any reason to hold back after you've already released the initial one. What's the problem with releasing the next one to show the next strike? Other than, I think most Americans will be appalled by it, and I think the administration knows that. I think President Trump is realizing that now. Most Americans will see that. I think how the Democrats who came out of that briefing saw it, that we don't have any sympathy for drug runners, but man, we should show a little humanity to those who survived a strike and are survivors. I mean, the laws of war say protect them, and I think most Americans feel that way.
They've also shown zero evidence that these were drug runners. Let's be clear about that. One, there should be a process by which they can be interdicted, and then they can go through a legal system because we're a country of law and order. We don't just murder people because we see them on boats in international waters. Secondly, I want to know what the actual authorization for the use of military force is that allows for Trump to even engage in what would be a war crime if he were engaging in a war. We're not at war with Venezuela. He wants to use the 2001 and 2002 AUMFs. Is this Iraq? Is this in response to 9/11? There's been no credible claim that has actually addressed that very issue. So it's a war crime if you're even going to use their broad theory about this as being a part of the authorization for the use of military force. But if you don't even grant that theory, it's just straight up murder.
I think you could even stipulate that these are drug runners and we're at war, neither of which have been stipulated. But even if you did, a second strike like that to survivors of an attack.
It's a war crime.
Senator, all due respect to your 18 years, sir, but we don't know if there is, in fact, intelligence in these videos. We don't know that. We can't sit here tonight and say that. And the evidence that there was no, the video shows floating cocaine strapped and waterproof.
Then how do you know? You haven't seen the video. How do you know that? You haven't seen the video.
On the first one that you guys attested came out earlier, we actually see that. So there is evidence.
But even if there's evidence, we have a process here. People have to be proven innocent and guilty. Do we understand that that's a part of like our American values?
Emma's absolutely right to question the authorization. The 2001 and 2002 AUMFs have been stretched far beyond their original intent. They were passed to go after Al-Qaeda in Iraq, not random Venezuelan boats allegedly moving cocaine. The Congressional Research Service has said multiple times that using the 2001 AUMF for operations unrelated to terrorism or imminent threats is legally questionable. Even Republican senators like Mike Lee and Rand Paul have said that Trump's use of these authorizations amounted to executive overreach, basically using war powers without congressional approval. What's worse is that if the strike did in fact target survivors, that crosses a bright red line in international law under the Geneva Conventions, which, by the way, the US helped write. It's a war crime to attack combatants who are hors de combat, meaning they're incapacitated or no longer a threat. Survivors in the water after a first strike are exactly that. Even the Department of Defense's own Law of War manual says this explicitly. And here's the thing, you don't get to claim we're the greatest democracy in the world if you pick and choose when to follow the rule of law. You can't call yourself the party of law and order while defending an unauthorized military strike that kills unarmed people, then refusing to release the evidence. It's the same contradiction we've seen again and again, waving the flag while undermining the very values it represents. Tim can talk all day about intelligence or protecting sources, but the truth is transparency is what actually protects American credibility. Allies don't trust countries that hide their own actions.
Or not.
To that point,
do you agree with that?
Mike Turner,
No.
the Republican representative, who is a national security hawk, by the way, this is not some kind of dove. He says, if the people on these boats were captured, had a trial, and were convicted, they would not be subject to capital punishment. They would go to jail. That's to Emma's point here, that in a process, execution would not be the punishment, even for those crimes.
Abby, the admiral who authorized this strike or was a part of it actually testified earlier this week, and he said that not only were these two gentlemen on a list of people that they were authorized to take action against, deadly force against, but he said in his own estimation he did not believe that there was an illegal act done here. And he said,
of course he would say that because he was subject to having done a
military legal
I guess my only point is that
the JAG
obviously
officers-
he is going to say that, but that doesn't stop the questions being raised. It doesn't stop the questions being raised. Tom Cotton was asked this weekend, and he was on Meet the Press, and he's been asked this a lot of different ways, and here's how he reacted to this scenario that was presented to him.
Right now, there's been a significant decrease in drugs trafficked into our country, and I bet there's a significant decrease in the number of cartel members who are willing to get on these boats.
But the United States doesn't shoot people at the border who are bringing drugs into the country. Why should it be different at sea? Are you saying we should start shooting people at the border?
No, I'm not, Kristen. But we are going to the source where we have large-scale boats that are trafficking hundreds, if not thousands of pounds of drugs that could kill thousands of Americans, hundreds of Arkansans a year. It is a highly effective and efficient way to stop these drugs from reaching our shores.
He concedes that no, it actually would not be okay. Why is it not okay on land, but it is okay at sea to murder people who are suspected of trafficking drugs?
Well,
What's
look,
the logic there?
I mean, my view is they ought to continue to lean into this and release whatever videos they have, because the American people are behind them on this. There's a Harvard-Harris survey out today. It's a 60-40 issue. The American people believe the president is right and proper to use the U.S. military to stop these narco-terrorists from putting poison in our country. They don't think our government has ever taken this seriously until now, and I do believe there is a deterrence. I think that's absolutely true. So the politicians and whatever are going to fight out the legal ramifications of it. I'll give you the political analysis, which is the American people want it, and I'll give you the real world analysis is if I was down there, I wouldn't get in a boat right now with a bunch of drugs, and that's the point.
If that were the case, they would release the video.
I know.
If they thought that
He
would
said
be
if
for a
Hegseth
political
wants to release it, he's fine with it.
Well, Hegseth isn't releasing it.
He
That's
reversed
the whole
himself
point.
today.
Trump
That's
is the
point.
president, just FYI.
Look,
Trump
I'm for it.
is the president of the United States.
I love
If he
these
wants to
videos.
release the video. He can
I
release
just
watch
find
them
it
all loose.
interesting
They're
that
great.
last week we had a conversation about the 6 members of Congress who came out and said, if there's an illegal order, you don't have to obey the order from the President of the United States. The admiral that was in charge during this attack said Nothing illegal here was done. And the JAG officers that are standing right next to him, authorizing him to take this action, is absolutely saying this is okay. This is compatible.
Here's the part Scott and Tim will never mention. Under both US military law and international maritime law, you cannot summarily execute people even if you suspect them of trafficking. You cannot kill survivors who are no longer a threat. You cannot carry out lethal force in a situation where capture is possible. And yes, you absolutely have to have some kind of legal authorization beyond they were on a boat and we think they had drugs. And Abby's point is strengthened by recent history. During the Trump years, the US Navy and Coast Guard actually captured hundreds of suspected traffickers alive. That's the standard procedure. They seized tons of cocaine off the coast of Colombia and Peru, and they did it through interdiction and arrest, not extermination. Those cases produced trials, convictions, and real intelligence on cartel networks. So if this administration suddenly decided that the new approach is shoot first, figure out the legal justification later, then yeah, people have a right to ask questions. And let's talk about the idea that deterrence justifies anything. Because if the standard is the public supports it and it works, that opens the door to all kinds of abuses. History is full of regimes that justified brutality by saying it reduced crime. That is exactly why our Constitution built in constraints, due process, proportionality, and clear rules of engagement. We don't abandon the rule of law just because it's politically convenient. Tim keeps saying, well, the admiral said it was legal. But that's like asking the person driving the getaway car whether the robbery was justified. Of course he's going to defend it. His career and potentially his freedom are on the line.
Of course he is.
And so I do think that
he is, because
if
he said
in the video
anything
that
else,
is inappropriate,
he would be engaging in a war crime. Of course, the general is going to say that. Now, I think the truth of all of this is we don't know. We don't really know what happened here. And I think if you think it's so popular, show the American people. And if you think the fact that Hegseth is basically hiding behind this, won't release the documents, the president 100%, 180% reversed himself, tells us that actually when people see the video, they will be horrified by what their government has done in their name. Because the rules of engagement for not just 10 years, 50 years, it's hundreds of years, are that you're not supposed to be, the United States government is not supposed to be shooting to kill people who may well look like they're trying to surrender, but are definitely no longer a threat.
This is where it really hurts. This war on terrorism, and it's real, all over the world, and we need allies. We desperately need allies. They need to stick with us. And there's evidence that some of them are backing away from us. The Brits and others are hesitating sharing intelligence with us because they see what we're doing is not living up to our values. And our values is not to just be efficient, but actually to...
Did you ever ask or wonder if Obama was committing war crimes?
For the record, okay? For the record, there was bipartisan outrage over President Obama's very liberal use of drone strikes.
Did anybody say Obama committed war crimes?
Hold on a second. Yes,
Who?
Many people did. Many conservatives, many liberals did. So it's just, my only point about that is that, look, I know we have short memories. I know we have short memories.
He's on the board of Netflix. It doesn't seem like anybody's holding it against him.
But this was actually a highly controversial thing.
Yeah.
You were actually, you were there, were you not?
You know, Tim Kaine and I spent 6 years trying to change the AUMF, to reform that so that Congress could have a say, because a lot of us were troubled with what was going on with these basically...
Did you use the phrase war crimes?
No.
Okay.
No.
Were you throwing it around a lot tonight?
Have I used one here?
We're throwing it around a lot tonight.
War with Venezuela.
There were war with
narco-terrorists.
I'm just saying, it's just not true that there was no outrage about that. It just was not. That's just not true.
When Russia invaded Crimea in 2014, they justified shooting Ukrainian sailors by citing US arguments about imminent threats from non-state actors. When Israel comes under international scrutiny, they cite US rules of engagement to defend their own operations. Once America lowers the standard, every authoritarian government in the world uses that as the new baseline. Scott's argument about Obama actually reinforces the point, not weakens it. Yes, there was outrage about Obama's drone program. Human rights groups, legal scholars, members of Congress, including Republicans, all sounded the alarm. And the response to that outrage was oversight attempts, AUMF reform proposals, and internal reviews. Not excuses, not hiding videos, not telling Americans, just trust us and stop asking questions. The bottom line is this: if you want to claim moral high ground in a fight against drug cartels, you can't use cartel tactics. You can't become the thing you say you're fighting. And you definitely can't ask the public to accept a just take our word for it justification when the only people who've seen the video are the ones whose careers depend on defending it. If the administration truly believes this strike was legal and justified, then prove it. Release the video, show the evidence, let independent lawyers analyze it. Because hiding the footage doesn't make America stronger, it makes us look guilty. And if we want to keep calling ourselves a nation of laws, then accountability isn't optional. Pause. Are you getting tired of getting half the story from biased news sources? One outlet says one thing and another says the complete opposite. How are you supposed to know what's actually true? That's where ground news comes in. It lets you compare how different media outlets, left, right, and center, are covering the same story. So you can see the full picture instead of just the echo chamber. And here's the best part. Click the link in the description and get 40% off the Vantage tier, which gives you even deeper insights into media bias and political trends. Stay informed, think for yourself, and check out Ground News in the description down below.